Hey guys, welcome back to Heroes of the Storm. Today I'd like to bring you something a little different. I'd like to talk about the state of melee assassins in this game. So as a lot of you know, melee assassins are not in a very good spot right now. And this is all melee assassins. At the moment, just for this introduction, I'm going to be showing a video of me playing as Zeratul just while I go over this. And then we're going to go over into a character select screen and talk about the specifics of each melee assassin. So, as you know, in this patch, Zeratul is incredibly popular and is incredibly strong. And in previous patches, I think the patch before this patch, Illidan was incredibly strong and incredibly popular. And why is that? Now, I'm going to get into that a little bit in a second, but basically I just want to bring everyone's attention, if you're not aware, that melee assassins are just in a really bad spot. They do approximately as much damage as the ranged assassins do, particularly ranged assassins like Valor and Falstad. Melee assassins will be on par with them very, very often. But they just need to... They need to jump through so many more hoops to get in those situations, and as a result, their weaknesses are so incredibly... It's so much easier to exploit their weaknesses than it is to exploit the weaknesses of a Kel'Thas or a Jaina or someone. And what I mean by that is melee assassins, if you've played a melee assassin, you'll quite often realise the problem you get, which is when you just get CC'd and die. You run into a fight as Thrall, for instance, they'll hit you with a stun, follow it with another stun, and then just burst you down in the time, and then you're just dead, and you've done literally nothing. It's an incredibly frustrating thing to have happen to you, but that's how it works, and that's basically one of the big problems with melee assassins at the moment. It's just they have to jump through so many hoops in order to get into a situation where they can deal some damage, and the damage that they deal is only as good as not bad but not amazing heroes in the first place, as opposed to like the likes of Kel'Thas and Jaina. They do so much more damage than melee assassins, and they don't have these struggles. So the two heroes that have been in the meta at any point, the melee assassins wise, have been Zeratul, who is at the moment, and Illidan, who is at the moment. Who was previously, rather. So why is that? And I've done as much research as I can, and I played both of these heroes extensively. And what it comes down to me is the escape, because Illidan surprisingly has surprisingly good escape, and damage mitigation. So all melee assassins have a way of either healing themselves significantly. Look at the Butcher and look at Thrall for things like that. Shielding themselves. Look at Kerrigan. Or heal, even Illidan has a self-heal, or they have really hard escape in the form of Blink. So they can do something like that. And the two heroes that have that to a lesser extent, but have more kind of escapey things, so Zeratul and Illidan are the only two heroes with the slide from Illidan, and of course the Blink from Zeratul. They're the most escapey of all the heroes, and they're the two that have been in the meta. So I'm going to use that as kind of an example, and basically say that in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, if you want melee assassins to be more viable, you need to give them more escape or less of a penalty for being CC'd. Because the problem with people like Thrall and people like the Butcher is you CC them once and they cannot heal. And because they cannot heal, they're kind of the thing which makes them survive in any situation, which is their self-healing, just can't be done, and so they just instantly die. It sounds kind of very ultimate-ish, but that's really how it works, and if you've played melee assassins, you'll really feel like this struggle. And there's not really that much you can do against it, really. You can play tanks and you can get flanks on and stuff like that, but after it all, you really are going to struggle to make as much of an impact as someone like Jaina or Kel'Thas does. So, in my opinion, there's two ways to fix this. One of the ways would be to innately reduce the amount of time which melee assassins are affected by CC through some way or another. For instance, adding in Thrall and Butcher having some form of mini relentless effect that reduces the effect of all CC by 25% maybe, or 10%, or adding in a lot more unstoppable kind of effects. So for instance, you could put it on Thrall's Wind Fury, make him unstoppable. You could put it on, the Butcher already has his charge that is unstoppable, and as a result he has really nice engage. It's a very long cooldown, but it does work. You could put it, yeah, as I say, you could put it on Thrall's Wind Fury. You could put it on a Kerrigan Sprint or something. There's really a few things you can do to really make it work. and you don't really need to go all the way to unstoppable. What I would really like is some form of kind of in between. So you have like, so for instance, Thrall's Wind Fury. When you activate Wind Fury, you gain movement speed 30%, and all CC effects are reduced by 75% for 4 seconds. That means that if Thrall gets CC'd with a root or a stun or something, he's going to be interrupted, and as a result you can still peel if you really, really need to, but it's not going to completely annihilate him. I would like something like this on the Butcher as well. I would like maybe the possibility to do that on your charge. I think that would be quite fun. Because I think Unstoppable is kind of dumb. It's kind of an easy, like, oh, let's just make him unstoppable. But it works surprisingly well. And with Kerrigan, she's a different one. I'm gonna speak about her more specifically when we go on to the character kind of analysis. But for the main part, it's just they're too easy to lock down and kill. And the way you stop that, in my opinion, is by either innate damage mitigation, such as Illidan's evasion. It's not that much, but it's enough. It means he can really do a lot of damage to the back line, or more unstoppable or inbuilt CC reduction effects. So what I'd like to do now is I'd like to go into the character selection screen, go over every melee assassin, and then just kind of talk about what they do, where their strengths lie, and where their weaknesses lie, and how I think they could really be improved. So without further ado, let's get into it. So here we are on the character selection screen. So now let's go over each of the assassins and talk about if they've been in the meta, and why they've been in the meta, and what they had that made them into the meta, and how that's changed so that they're no longer in it if they aren't. So first off, let's talk about Illidan. So Illidan, for those of you who don't know, has an ability which is a targeted ability. You dive on a person, and you can later use it to dive on allies, but no one ever expects that, so it's only dive on enemies. And you have a non-collision W, which will slide through everything apart from walls. So it slides through enemies, slides through zombie walls, slides through structures, friendly structures, I mean, all that good stuff. And he has evasion. Now, evasion is one of the big things that makes Illidan good, or what made Illidan really, really good. Evade all basic attacks is surprisingly strong, considering that once the mages such as Kel'Thas, Jaina, Falstad, even a few of the others, once they use their abilities, or characters who rely on their basic attacks a lot for most of their damage, such as Vala and Reyna, they can't damage you for 2 seconds. And in that 2 seconds, if you have your abilities up, particularly if you use your ult, you are really going to start to hurt them. And then because of the abilities of dive and sweeping strike, you can escape. Wait 15 seconds, which is closer to 8 seconds by the time you've actually come out because of Illidan's trait. And then you can just re-engage and do it again. And that's what made Illidan strong, the ability to dive in and then dive out while taking little to no damage. And if you got CC'd, the evasion would still be up. So if they stunned you or rooted you or polymorphed you or did anything to you, you would still not take that much damage, which I think is a key point that no other assassin, that no other in-form melee assassin has done, is the ability to take less damage while being CC'd. I think that might be another cool idea that you can roll in. Similar to how it works in Diablo, when under the effects of crowd control, characters take 50%, 70%, whatever reduced damage. Oh, my bad. And so the next one is Kerrigan. Now Kerrigan works slightly differently in the fact that her self-healing comes in the form of shields. So whenever she attacks enemies, she gains a percentage of that damage that she's dealt in shields. And this is her way of not instantly dying. But she suffers from the problem that all melee assassins have, which is you need to be attacking to survive. Illidan has a heal on his trait, but he doesn't need it to stay alive. It's never going to really keep you alive unless you get incredibly lucky and somehow survive on like 1 or 2 HP. But this shield really, really will, especially when you get in the late game and you can start really, really stacking it up. And Kerrigan suffers from a very similar problem, which is the leap to a target, and if it cools down it's fine, but basically that's her engage. You can leap and then you can do the grab stun combo, which is really good. It does a load of damage, but then afterwards you're stuck in the middle of the team fight, which is fine. But if that team fight starts to go badly, or you get CC'd and can no longer attack, you can get bursted down. And you're going to see a lot of that in the themes. Like, you go into the team fight, you're committed to being in the team fight, so if they CC you, for the duration of that CC, it's free damage. Because once that comes off, you still have to escape. And as opposed to Illidan and Zeratul, when that CC comes off, they can slide out or they can kind of try to get away. Kerrigan really doesn't have that, and neither do many melee assassins, and that's why they're never really in form. Oh god, I need to stop doing that. The next one I want to look at is the Butcher. So the Butcher's the newer hero, the newest hero of the melee assassin bunch. His abilities are big skill shot, slam it down, and it affects everyone, and it deals damage and slows them. Butcher's brand, which is really his ability to keep him alive. You see Kerrigan has the shield, Illidan has the escape and the damage mitigation. This is Butcher's. You throw down at extremely close range, mind you. It doesn't really show you here, but this damage is, this is a mark is so unbelievably close range, which I think is a problem. It does a little bit of damage. It does a tiny bit of damage, like a really mild bit of damage. And what it means is that when you attack him, you heal. When Butcher attacks, he heals, if he's attacked who he's marked, he heals big. Like 4 or 5 melee attacks, and he'll be close to full health if he's at basically nothing. And this is how Butcher survives. But again, this suffers from the problem of, one, he has to get into melee range to do this. So if you can't, he's unstoppable while charging, which is the ability. So you charge in, hit them with a brand, and then start hitting them. Or you can hit someone else with a brand, like a tank or something. But you need to be attacking constantly to stop being bursted down, which doesn't work, because the same problem that Kerrigan has, he needs to be attacking. So if he's stunned, polymorphed, rooted, silenced, something, well, silenced actually doesn't do anything, but if he's rooted, the guy can just run away, and because he doesn't have any innate speed boost, especially in the early game, he can just be CC'd and bursted down. And while he's CC'd, he has no way of mitigating damage or healing himself. That's the problem. And it's the same problem that all the melee assassins have, aside from the ones that are in the meta. Even if you take his fresh meat coupled with the victuals talent, it means that he's going to have a lot more sustain and can do what he wants around the lane, but he's still not going to have the problem in team fights. He's just going to get CC'd and bursted down. He's great in a duel situation, but all the team has to do is just never have anyone separate. And I know some maps kind of force that to happen, maps like Sky Temple and even maps like Cursed Hollow to some extent, but at the same time, once he's used his engage and heal, you can either run away from it, which a lot of people just do. You probably will die if you're on your own, but if you've got any form of CC at all, really, even like Uther can get away from the Butcher, even people like Falstad can get away from the Butcher because he's got slow. Any form of CC at all, and you'll just get away from him. Melee assassins in general are so vulnerable to CC. Thrall has exactly the same problem. Thrall's way of keeping himself alive is his Frostwolf Resilience passive, which in the late game is going to be ticking like so much, and it's going to be healing you for a really significant amount. But you need to be attacking, specifically with Wind Fury, but you need to be dealing damage constantly for these procs to go off. And so if you get CC'd, you just get bursted down, and there's nothing you can do about it. And again, because he's a melee hero, he has, to be fair, Thrall has 2 abilities which can damage heroes from range, but they actually need to go off. And if you miss them, which of course is possible if everyone does the thing, and if you hit that, and even if you do hit that, your healing is going to be so marginal because you can't really get into melee range that people are just going to be able to CC you and kill you. So the problem that 3 of the 5 melee assassins have is that all of their survivability, and bear in mind that they need incredibly increased survivability as opposed to ranged assassins, because they're going to get hit by almost every ability, because they're an assassin and they're going to be really close to the front lines, so they need to be incredibly survivable for them to even be slightly viable. It comes off of abilities or aggression. The ability to keep attacking, which is fine, that's what melee assassins do. You keep attacking, then eventually you'll kill people, and then you can retreat or do whatever you want. CC just wrecks you. CC means that you can't establish that footing, or it just destroys that footing as you've just about got it set up. And what I mean by that footing is you're healing and you're damaging them, and eventually you like crack the fight, so to speak. You break the backline, or you do enough damage to assassin to force them to retreat, and then you can either retreat or you can get a big ult healing you or something, stuff like that. And what a lot of people will say to counter this is they'll say, oh, well, just take a Rhaegar or just take an Uther for the ultimate heal on either of them. But I don't think that's really fair. I don't think that to make a melee assassin viable, you need to go with a pocket healer who is specifically designed to heal you. That's not how the game should work, in my opinion. You shouldn't have to be like, oh, okay, I'm going Thrall, you need to go Rhaegar to the guy you're queuing with, or the other way around. That shouldn't happen. It should be a case of melee assassins can go in and really start to deal big damage, but they have the option of not committing to a team fight. So one of the problems that I have with these 3 melee assassins is they have like this big I'm going in button, and once they press that button, that's it. There's no way for them to escape. Whereas the other two have a really big way to escape. So if you just quickly talk about Zeratul, Zeratul has no survivability at all. His survivability comes from stealth, not being able to be hit by targeted abilities to open on him, and blink means that he can just blink away and he can go over walls and do all kinds of crazy stuff. He has no way of self-healing. No way at all. And he's still one of the most picked heroes. And he's still just like widely regarded as very, very strong. And so, and Illidan was last patch. So what I think this shows is that you don't need that form of self-healing to be viable. But what you do need is the ability to mitigate damage as opposed to heal through it. And not be that vulnerable to CC because like you can escape after. So you can stun Zeratul, you deal half his health, but then he just blinks away. You can stun Illidan, he just slides away. You can do that kind of stuff. So, what I would like to see, I think Zeratul and Illidan are fine, even with the Illidan kind of nerfs, his balancing and all that, but I'm not going to get into that. I think what I would like to see is Relentless, maybe, as a ridiculously early game talent, like level 4, maybe, on some of these heroes. It probably would be incredibly overpowered, but you can have a scaled back version of it, or roll it into an ability. As I say, I would like it with Kerrigan to maybe add some form of Ravage gains, or roll the ability to Ravage onto allies. I think that would be a really fun way to make it work. Just have it so you can cast an allies if you want and deals no damage, so that she has the escape. You can Q in and then Q out. That would be brilliant, and I don't think that'll be overpowered at all. Or what you could do is you could roll that into a talent, the ability to Q on allies at level 1 or level 4. Or you could also do is you could add, for 3 seconds after casting Ravage, gain 20% movement speed. During this time, all crowd control effects on you are reduced by 50%. I think that would work. Again, I think it might be a little bit overpowered, but it might work. And the same with the Butcher. I think the Unstoppable is quite good, but I think it's kind of a cop-out. I don't particularly like it. I like it because it's a step in the right direction, but I don't think it's quite there. I think what I would prefer is a speed boost on some form of move and then just get rid of Ruthless Onslaught entirely. But of course, that is how the unit works. So, yeah, okay, I'll give you that. That's how the Butcher works. He runs in, he dives, and then he goes crazy. Fine. And he's got crazy healing to heal through it. Fine. The Butcher kind of works. In a meta that shifts around it, fair enough, I'll give you that one. Let's leave the Butcher as he is. But Thrall, no. Why would you pick Thrall when you can pick Butcher, if you know what I mean? The self-healing comes from aggression, and I don't think that's fair. What I would really like to see, and I think this is one of the easiest ways to do it, would be on level 13 or on level 16 even. Maybe even earlier than that. I would like to see on like level 7, but maybe that's a little bit overpowered. When using Wind Fury, you gain movement speed. In that movement speed also have a form of mini Relentless. I think that would be really, really fun. But in general, I think melee assassins are in a surprisingly bad spot. I think Zeratul and Illidan are still viable, but the other ones kind of aren't. If you have any opinions on this, if you have your own opinion, or if you believe I'm just straight up wrong, or if there's a build or something, a little secret that you know that I don't, which can really help people play as melee assassins, please let me know in the comments below. Other than that, that's going to be it for today. I have been Mr. G. I really hope you enjoyed this slightly different video, this slightly more talky video than as opposed to my usual not talky video. I don't know. I have been Mr. G. I will see you next time.